2822 News Night Shift starts
to
right
have our
now.
heads down. If you put your head up, they would smash your head down.
A woman with ties to NEPA was among the more than 400 detained by Israeli armed forces last week after attempting to deliver aid to Palestine. And that woman is now back in the U.S. and she's talking about her experience.
2822's Avery Nape sat down with her this afternoon to recount her time in Israel. He joins us live now in Wilkes-Barre to explain her side of the story. Now, Avery.
Nick, Candace, Western Wayne graduate and U.S. Army veteran Susan Jernstedt was part of what is known as the Global Samud Flotilla, a group of around 50 vessels headed to Palestine to deliver aid. But when that aid was cut off by Israeli forces, now Jernstedt is speaking out.
We were abducted from international waters illegally.
This is Susan Jernstedt, also known as Zoo, and what she's recounting is the experience of her and more than 400 others in the Global Samud Flotilla after trying to deliver aid to Palestine. The boats weren't carrying much, some food, baby formula, and medical supplies. But their goal wasn't to feed the entire country, it was to send a message.
It wasn't enough food for, the population, but the whole point was to break the siege and then to open a humanitarian corridor so that aid could continually come in.
That aid never reached its destination. Jernstedt says she, along with 10 other volunteers, were chased down by Israeli boats for roughly 6 hours before they were boarded and detained in international waters.
They searched us. They kept repeating that they weren't going to hurt us.
The Associated Press reports that while nations are not typically allowed to seize ships in international waters, there are exceptions, including during wartime. But civil rights groups still criticize the blockades, calling the denial of aid unlawful punishment of Palestinians. After being boarded and searched, their boat was escorted to the Israeli port of Ashdod. She says there they waited for hours, kneeling on the concrete.
We were yelled at by Ben Gvir and called terrorists and baby killers. We were made to have our heads down. If you put your head up, they would smash your head down.
After she and other volunteers yelled back, the Israeli forces zip-tied them. After hours of waiting, they were moved to a detainment facility, where she would spend the next 5.5 days before being sent home through Jordan. She said treatment there was far from great. The biggest concern was the lack of help from the U.S. consulate. She says it took them 3 days to visit, while other countries sent help on day one.
It was a pretty harsh situation. So for the United States to not, there's a consulate there, to not come right away, it was very worrying.
And now that she's home, despite recent announcements of a ceasefire, she warns others not to turn a blind eye to what's happening in Gaza.
It's really important that we don't see a ceasefire as a win, and we see it as something to still watch.
Zoo says she was given a 100-year ban for her participation in the flotilla, but that she does still have plans to go back in the future to help in whatever way she can. Live in Wilkes-Barre, Avery Nape, 2822 News.
Avery, thank you.